Hi, my name is Joe Coughlin. I am founder and director of the MIT Age Lab. So retirement was created. It was literally invented, much the way we think about adolescence. It was a life stage that was filled in when we had a longer and longer life. But here's the thing. You know the fastest growing part of the population worldwide is 85 plus? But the real generation gap in the longevity economy is expectations.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The baby boomers and every generation that follows them has seen the world get better, faster, in many cases, cheaper. We've never had this many older adults with so much education, more income than any time in history, that have the expectations that there's a pill, a product, or a policy that will enable them to live longer and better. It's like an emerging continent that has been hiding in plain sight. The segments within that longevity economy, well, there's two obvious ones. There's financial, and then there's health. But in between, there's housing. Where will you live? There's education. There's transportation. Imagine this, 70% of the 50 plus in the United States live in suburban and rural areas where transit or alternatives to driving don't exist. Secondly, our children, if we had them at all, are more mobile. They might be far, they may be too busy. What are the other things that are going to keep you connected to people and places and things that bring you joy? And so when I came to MIT, I wanted to start a laboratory that looked at the transportation needs of an aging society. Transportation is the glue that holds all of life together. So I started the lab looking at what are the new technologies we can use to make it possible for older drivers to drive longer, safely, and seamlessly on the road. But something happened along the way. You see, you have to have places to go. You have to have a home to live in. You have to have activities that you seek. And so the Age Lab today is a multidisciplinary laboratory that draws on design and engineering and data science and the social sciences to build the infrastructure of an aging society. So the lab, as you walk through the hall after you see the crazy car parked there, has a number of areas. You might trip along a mannequin named Agnes. The Age Gain Now Empathy System is a suit that was calibrated with Mass General Hospital to really feel the friction, the fatigue, and even the frustration of the older user. This suit has been used, yes, to help rethink how we get in and out of vehicles, but it's also been used to redesign some of the most prominent drugstore chains out there for lower shelving, wider aisles, better signage, even packaging for food products as well. So it's a way of giving companies we work with and our students that feeling, that empathy, if you will, for the user. The Age Lab has become a virtual innovation factory for products and services and ideas in the longevity economy. One of my students has actually started a company called Withings. This is a wearable device company from watches to scales and the like that was later sold to Nokia. We have another set of students that have developed a company called Rendeavor that actually are using virtual reality to allow people to travel when they can no longer travel themselves. Some of the work that we're doing at the Age Lab is not just on technology alone. It's literally trying to get into the psychology of how do we get people to think about preparing, not just planning, but preparing for older age. And certainly one of the big things is social connection. Very good science out there suggests that being lonely has the physical health equivalent of smoking 11 to 15 cigarettes a day, cardiovascular, diabetes, and then, of course, depression and what goes with that. What are the things that people are doing to continue to have those chance collisions to meet new people so that your wealth portfolio keeps you secure, but your social portfolio keeps you healthy? Around the world, there are many places, China among them, are creating what might be called gerontopias. Multi-mile areas where they've got staff on site and activities and people that are getting assisted care, maybe for those who have Alzheimer's, specialty care and the like. That sounds profoundly rational. It sounds like it should be great, but I'm concerned. And that is, when we start to separate people based upon their age, we separate them from learning the new. And so the gerontopias may be well-meaning in terms of providing safety and support and service to an aging society, but society loses when we lose anyone and we set them off to the side. You know, the most powerful technology in the world at the Age Lab, we don't think is genetics. We don't think it's space travel or, God knows these days, artificial intelligence. We think it's a story. Think about what stories do. Stories tell you what's possible, what's impossible, what's affordable, what's acceptable, what's even available to you. Youth to education to work, finding a partner, having 2.5 children, buy a dog. That is a story, that is a narrative. The greatest challenge in front of us is not finding a robot to care for us or a house that is going to monitor our well-being or even a blood draw that is going to tell us, when our expiration date is. Now that we're living so much longer, what is the new narrative to help us guide what that living longer better is going to be? What will I do? Where will I go? Who will I be with? Even what should I wear? Do I go back to school? Do I find new hobbies? We run out of narratives starting at about age 60 or 65. There's no more rituals. There's no more myths. Since we crawled out of the ooze, if you will, we've all wanted to live more years. At the Age Lab, we see longer life as an opportunity to be won rather than a problem to be solved.